Was there a genuine sense of community on the day? Because there is a temptation to see that in the euphoria of the day, everybody chipped in, did their bit, but that would all fade away and all these various musicians would completely go their own way. Has it left a legacy within the music world, let alone everything else, that Live Aid Day, do you think?
Linda McCartney's sending me love letters.
Is she really? Yeah, does Paul know?
No, actually there has been some continuation. One of my favourite moments actually was I was talking to the guy from Queen, Freddie Mercury, and the other guitar player came up, you know, the guitar player in Queen. This big tall guy, and he says, "Hey, that was really good out there. You got a great guitar player in your group." And I says, yeah, you're a great guitar player too. And he says, "Yeah, give my regards to the hedge."
Oh, lovely.
I swear, you know, there were, you know, things like that. The hedge, yeah, far out.
Great. Back to our audience again. There were a number of people in the red scarf there. Yeah.
You're talking about bands helping each other. How did you get involved with Clannad? I mean, I know it's above the scale that we were talking about, but how did you get involved with Clannad?
I've been a fan of traditional music for the last about 2 years. And one of the things I feel very guilty about in some ways is my suburban background. I was born in Ballymun, and just in between Ballymun and Finglas, and I kind of resent the fact that we didn't grow up in you know, listening to traditional music and anything like that. In fact, I would have, at the time, I grew up kind of sneering at traditional music, the diddly idle we used to call it. But I've since come to realise that traditional music has so much, you know, has so much to offer. Contemporary music in its rhythm, in its tone and the textures. And I think that as well as just being a remnant, as well as just being folklore, it has a new significance as we become more dehumanized in our city lives. And I think the group Clannad, they had an incredible marriage between the past, you know, the technology they were using, the synthesizers, and a modern sense to their music, combined with songs that were 1,000 years old. And that was unique, and that got me interested in Clannad. And I've always been a fan.
Did they approach you?
Did
they approach you? Was the song written with you in mind?
No, it wasn't actually. The song wasn't written with me in mind. They just said, you know, the record company had said to the group, to Clannad, you know, would you be interested, you know, in singing with a few characters? She named a few guys, and they didn't seem to click with her. She said, well, I wouldn't mind you singing with Bono. So they
invited you, yeah.
That's what, you know, some papers, sort of gutter press will always look for an angle. So since, as you've so mentioned, since I've been involved with Clannad as a group, people trying to think that Moya and myself are getting along too well. Of course, Moya is more like a sister than anything else. But, sorry, what was your question?
Whether they asked you. Well, in fact, can I just interrupt and say that is one of your extra curricular activities, if you will, outside U2. Larry, you have been playing on Paul Brady's forthcoming album, because he mentioned to us on our show on Stephen's Night. What exactly is your involvement there?
Well, I met Paul a couple of years ago, and I was then last Christmas, not last Christmas, Christmas before then, I met him again in London, and I was saying that I didn't feel like a real musician because I'd never done a session, you know. I'd only played with U2. And he said, well, would you be into doing a session? And I said, yeah, but you'll have to organise as a real session. I said, send me a tape when I come into the studio, like I was being a big boy, yeah. So he organised and sent me over a tape. It was about in September, October. And I went over to London and just played over this track. I'd never heard it before. It was a different angle, something I'd never done before. I always liked Paul Brady stuff anyway. He's a nice guy as well.
Yeah, how did it feel to be actually behind the kit with somebody who wasn't Bono or The Edge or Larry out there?
It was very strange, but it was a good feeling. It was really, you know, it was an adventure. I mean, I didn't do anything incredibly different on it. I mean, I played the way I play, but just the idea of I wasn't with the band. I mean, I suppose Bono would tell you himself, when you're working with other people, then you realise why you're in a band, or why you know, because although it's great fun and all that, being in a band is what it's all about, you know.
Right. Now, can I just mention that Karen from Stillorgan phoned to say she paid 50p to see you two in the Dandelion years ago and £12 to see you last year. Now, reading between the lines, I suppose her point is...
Inflation, is it?
Inflation. It's inflation, all right. The problem is that the bigger you get, the bigger the gigs you play. Inevitably now, at a time of recession, not a lot of people who are U2 fans can afford 12 quid to see you. Is that one of those compromises you have to live with, given how big the band has become?
Yeah. Well, I agree with you, in one sense. Where I don't agree with you is, sometimes people say to you, why should I pay 12 quid to see you in Croke Park, only pay 50p to see you in Dandelion Market? They won't think twice about paying £15 to see Bruce Springsteen in the same venue, maybe. And that, I think when the ticket price was set at £12, we tried to make up a bill with other acts, right through from Squeeze, The Alarm, whatever. We think it was worth £12. I mean, I really believe it was worth £12. I can see, though, that if you haven't got £12, that's a right pain in the backside.
Well,